Hi folks. This video is about unpacking the Maine teaching standards. They're intensive and they're comprehensive and they deserve a great deal of attention. So I'm going to walk you through all three documents that I've given you and do my best to help you to unpack them and to apply them. The first document is a document that I put together that pulls together the INTAS and NETS-T anchor standards. The state of Maine has adopted the INTAS standards, which were created by the Council of Chief State School Officers, and the NETS-T standards, which were created by the ISTE, okay? And I can't remember what that stands for off the top of my head, but it's the technology educators, okay? And so there are 11 Maine teaching standards. The first 10 are the INTAS standards. The 11th is the NET standards. And I've pulled them out here so you can look at them. Anchor standards are just that. They anchor the other pieces of that. And I'm going to go over each one of those as we go forward. Here's the second page of that, and you'll see that standard 11 right here are the technology standards, okay? And you'll see there are 5 pieces to that standard, okay? The INTAS standards is this purple booklet, okay? You're more than welcome to print it out. It's about, let's see, it's about probably 30 pages or so, but you don't need to. You have it on, you can get it online. It's attached in the syllabus. And so let's look at this. Okay, I'm going to skip those introductory pages. I'd like you to read the introduction here. I really think it will help you to better contextualize what the standards are and how you use them in your pre-service teacher work and in your student teaching and then ultimately in your teaching. And for those of you who are taking classes who are not planning to be educators, I understand that, but learning about the Maine teaching standards is part of the course, so you'll be expected to learn about them as well in terms of what they mean for you for learning outcomes for the course. And so if you look here, you can see that the sorry, I need to erase that. I forget that I can't do that with my fingers. It shows you what needs to be accomplished, what effective teaching looks like that will lead to improved student achievement, okay? I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to kind of highlight it. I'm going to get to some pieces that I really want to talk more about. So integrated across the standards is this teacher's responsibility for the learning of all students and the expectation that they will see themselves as leaders from the beginning of their career. So teachers then, their responsibility is to educate all students, but also to be lifelong learners themselves, and the standards encompass that. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about this page. So, about these standards. The standards are no longer intended just for beginning teachers. In the state of Maine, these standards are the standards for pre-service teachers, but also for provisionally certified teachers. That's the certification you get when you finish your program of study. You will be a provisionally certified teacher for 3 years, and you will be held to these standards in your schools. After that, schools may have different standards to which they hold their professionally certified teachers. It's up to the district which standards they would like to follow. But for the pre-service and professionally certified teachers, these are the ones. So the thing that we have to remember is that the ways in which one demonstrates these standards will look different at different developmental stages of a teacher's career. Here in your pre-service teacher training, it's going to look a whole lot different than when you've been a teacher for 3 or 4 years. So you just have to keep that in mind. It's the degree of sophistication and the application of the knowledge and the skills. All right. I really want to point this paragraph out right here. This is important. A key point here is that there's 3 parts to these standards, and we'll get to those in a minute. There's performances, essential knowledge, and critical dispositions. And each one has its own place, okay? Knowledge is what you need what you need to know. It's that declarative and procedural knowledge that you need for effective practice. Critical dispositions is the underlying habits of mind for professional action and moral commitment. It's what underlies what you do as a teacher. And then the performance indicators is what can be observed and assessed in teaching practice, okay? So we want to remember then that the standards are not a checklist. It's not something to be just check it off, I've done this, but it's supposed to be a guide to help us think about what the standard means, what the anchor standard means, how to envision it, how it might be put into practice. Okay, so the standards are divided up into 4 general areas, okay? There's learner and the learning, content, instructional practice, and professional responsibility. Let's look at the first 2. The learner and the learning encompasses the first 3 standards. This is all about the learner. It's about understanding learner development, learner differences, and learning environments. In many of our EDU courses, we address these really deeply because it's really underlies an effective teaching practice, understanding the learner and how each learner learns. And we'll look at each one of those standards in more depth. Content, let's look at that one. This comprises standards 4 and 5. This is what you know and how you apply that knowledge. For a content area teacher in middle school or high school, say, it's what you know about the subject you're teaching. And that goes for elementary teachers too, who are generalists and have to have knowledge of those 4 subjects that's appropriate to grades K through 8. So it's your deep knowledge, it's how to be flexible with that knowledge, it's how to make that knowledge accessible to the learner. Instructional practice is the next category, and this comprises standards 6, 7, and 8, assessment, planning for instruction, and instructional strategies. This is the pedagogy of learning. This is what you know about how are you going to assess your students? How are you going to know that they have met their goal? What instructions what is your instruction going to look like? How do you plan that instruction for a variety of appropriate instructional strategies to address the diverse ways of learning? So look how these overlap, because you have to have a deep knowledge of learner and learning in order to effectively construct good instruction. So you're going to see a lot of overlap here. And in turn, you also need to know the learner and the learning development in order to create good assessments. And then the instructional strategies. So it's not only planning the instruction, but what are the appropriate strategies to use for different groups of students so that they develop deep understanding of content and their connection. They can build skills in meaningful ways. There's a lot of overlap among these 3 standards, and there's a lot of overlap between this category and learner and the learning. I'm tongue-tied on that one for some reason. I apologize. In content area. No one area can stand alone and create an effective teacher. It's important to remember that. There's a multiplicity and layering of understanding and knowledge. The last category is professional responsibility. Teachers have to be lifelong learners. They have to be. They cannot just go into a classroom and feel they have it forever and always. So here is where you are creating a professional learning group or self, or where you're supporting yourself in moving forward in your practice. Okay, you're engaging in professional learning. You're continually evaluating your process. You're evaluating the effects of your choices on your students and students' families, on your colleagues. You're developing leadership skills. You're collaborating with other teachers within and without your school. You're developing professional profile for yourself. Very important. Okay, so that's kind of an overview. Let's look at how each of these standards are laid out. Okay, so I'm gonna just choose one standard to kind of unpack, and then we'll quickly go through the other ones. So each standard is devoted a page in this document, and you can see it's color coded. I love color coded documents. It really helps me to compartmentalize and contextualize. You'll see the standard is in purple at the top. Okay, so we have the standard here. Okay, and then this is the anchor standard. Okay, this is the anchor standard I was talking about earlier, that encompasses these three aspects. Performances is what you can observe. Okay, this is what's observed and assessed in teaching practice. So observed and assessed. Okay, you can see it and you can decide how well it's working. Okay. Again, it's not a checklist, but it's a helpful way of picturing what this standard looks like. Okay? In teacher preparation courses, performances are generally part of observations, part of practicums, part of interviews, and so forth and so on. Because you're not doing a lot of actual teaching in your pre-service work, but you may be doing a great deal of observing of that work. The second part is essential knowledge, and essential knowledge is, again, what you need to know. It's the declarative and procedural knowledge necessary for effective practice. And then critical dispositions are the habits of mind, professional action, and moral commitments that underlie the performances. So this is your attitude that influences how you perform. The essential knowledge influences how you perform. So you can see that these three things work together. I don't really think I need to go through each one of these standards now. I'm just going to quickly go to the end of the INTAS standards and then pick up on the NET standards. I should say something about the glossary. This is if you're not used to teacher talk, and I've had a few people, email me at times and say, really, I don't understand these terms. This is a really good glossary to look at. So take some time to look at the glossary so that you have a better understanding of the terminology. I should probably say a few words about this too. This is a good reference chart for the cross-cutting themes in these standards. So you can see that, if you're looking at the theme, for collaboration, here are the cross-cutting standards, okay? And they're all laid out for you. The kinds of knowledge, the kinds of dispositions, and the performances that one would observe. We can look down here to English language learners. Here's the knowledge. Here's the disposition, here's the performance. So this is a key chart too, and it will help you in thinking about, again, what these standards look like in practice. All right. Okay, so this brings us to the NET standards. Again, this was developed by a different constituency, but adopted by the state of Maine as the 11th standard for the Maine teaching standards. And this is all about technology. Maine is very big on technology. We've had the MILTI program, the Maine Laptop Initiative, for quite some time now. All middle school students have some kind of a device. Most high school students now have a device, and many elementary students do. And being able to use those effectively in the classroom and to teach students how to use them effectively is very, very important. So really, it's about learning how to teach through technology and with technology. So let's look at these briefly. I'm going to look at the anchor standard. Effective teachers model and apply the NETS S The next S are the student technology standards, okay? It's not necessary right now to go into that, but that will be important when in developing curriculum and developing lesson plans. But this particular video is just about the teaching standards. So, but this standard means that teachers will apply those student standards as they design, implement, and assess learning experiences to engage students and improve learning, enrich professional practice, and provide positive models for students, colleagues, and the community. All teachers should meet the following standards and performance indicators. Please notice how this now overlaps with those INTAS standards, with professionalism, with being a model to colleagues and community, with engaging in students, assessing learning practices. So you have to think of the recursive nature of these standards, that they're not, you can't compartmentalize them and have them just be a list, a checklist. They really do interact with one another. And it's important to remember that. So facilitate and inspire student learning and creativity. This is using your knowledge of your subject matter, of teaching and learning, and technology to facilitate experiences that advance student learning, creativity, and innovation in both face-to-face and virtual environments. We are surely in a virtual environment in our online courses here. So feel free to apply these standards to me. You know, am I doing this right? Am I facilitating and inspiring student learning and teaching? Am I promoting and modeling ways of thinking? Am I engaging students in authentic problems using digital tools? Am I promoting student reflection and collaborative tools? Am I modeling collaborative knowledge construction? Okay, so it's very much this facilitating, inspiring, and modeling. The second part of this is designing and developing, digital age learning experiences and assessments. So teachers should be able to design, develop, and evaluate authentic learning experiences and assessment incorporating contemporary tools and resources to maximize content learning in context and to develop the knowledge, skills, and attitudes identified in the student technology standards. So designing or adapting learning experiences that use digital tools, developing technology-enriched learning environments, customizing and personalizing learning activities, providing students with multiple and varied formative and summative assessments, then modeling digital age work and learning. Teachers exhibit knowledge, skills, and work processes representative of an innovative professional and a global and digital society. Again, notice the overlap then to the INTAS standards 9 and 10 for professionalism. It's demonstrating fluency in technology systems and the transfer of current knowledge to new technologies and situations. It means not being a Luddite, folks. If you've not heard the term Luddite, Luddite means someone who's stuck in past years, who doesn't grasp modern technologies or the contemporary ways of working through technology. So don't be a Luddite. Make technology something that you use. Don't let it use you. Okay. Technology is only as good as the person who's using it. Okay. So understanding it and using it fluently is important. Collaborate with students, peers, parents, and community members using digital tools. That's what we're doing here. I'm using a multitude of tools to collaborate with all of you. Communicate relevant information and ideas effectively using a variety of digital age media and formats, email, texting, social media. Model and facilitate effective use of current and emerging digital tools to locate, analyze, evaluate, and use information resources to support research and learning, library digital databases, and so forth and so on. Promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility, understanding local and global societal issues and responsibilities in an evolving digital culture, and exhibiting legal and ethical behavior. So important is to model this for our students who may not have the understanding of what's appropriate and inappropriate in using digital technologies. Advocating for safe, legal, and ethical use of digital information, including copyright, intellectual property, and appropriate documentation of sources. This is helping students to not simply cut and paste. It's helping them to understand legitimate uses of digital media. addressing the diverse needs of learners by using learner-centered strategies, promote and model digital etiquette and responsible social interactions, develop and model cultural understanding and global awareness, and then finally engage in professional growth and leadership. And again, please note the recursiveness of this and how this really dovetails with standards 9 and 10 of the INTAST. Continually improving their professional practice, modeling lifelong learning, and exhibiting leadership in the school and professional community by promoting and demonstrating the effective use of digital tools and resources. Again, participating in learning communities, exhibiting leadership, evaluating and reflecting on current research, contributing to this research. So very, very important, folks. And I spent more time on the NET standards because they often get forgotten, or not forgotten, but they tend to fall to the bottom of the list when we look at teaching standards. And it's important to especially that you're learning in an online environment, that you are keenly aware of these standards and what it means to be a teacher through technology and with technology. Because this will be the world that you will face. While you may be in a face-to-face classroom, there's always going to be some digital component to that. So I hope that this has helped you to think about unpacking these standards, both the INTAST standards and the NET standards, and to think about how these are used as learning outcomes for you in your courses, and also how you will demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of these standards. So have a great day.